When you're staring at a pool care quote and wondering whether a salt chlorine system is really worth the hassle, the biggest fear is ending up with a piece of equipment that looks good on paper but becomes a constant headache. I've spent the past few weeks talking to a handful of pool owners, scrolling through forums, and watching installation videos just to understand what the Jandy PureLink cell kit actually does once it's in the water. My goal here is to give you a clear picture of the real-world trade-offs so you can decide if this is the right fit for your backyard oasis or if you'd be better off sticking with a traditional chlorine feeder. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the PureLink cell is designed for Jandy's Aqua Pure salt systems that handle up to 40,000 gallons. That's roughly the size of a typical in-ground residential pool. Give or take a few thousand gallons depending on shape. The kit includes the chlorine-generating cell itself, mounting hardware, and a short control board that integrates with the existing Jandy automation if you have one. What matters most for most owners is how the system behaves once it's wired up, not just the fact that it can be installed horizontally or vertically. In practice, that flexibility means you can mount the cell on a sidewall where you have a little extra clearance, or you can run it along a vertical support if your pump room is cramped. I've seen both configurations work fine, but there's a subtle point. Vertical installs tend to stay cooler because the water flows over the cell more evenly, which can prolong the cell's life. Now, let's talk about daily usability. After the initial hookup, which, by the way, takes about an hour if you're comfortable with basic plumbing, the system essentially becomes a set-it-and-forget-it component. The cell runs continuously while the pump is on, converting the dissolved salt into chlorine at a rate that's automatically adjusted by the control board based on the pool's temperature and usage patterns. For a family that swims 3 or 4 times a week, you'll notice that the chlorine levels stay steady without having to add liquid or granular chlorine every few days. That stability is a genuine convenience for people who already feel overwhelmed by the routine of testing and dosing. But the convenience comes with a couple of hidden trade-offs. First, the salt concentration has to stay within a narrow window, usually between 2,500 and 3,500 parts per million. If you accidentally add too much salt while topping off the water, the cell can start producing excess chlorine, which shows up as a strong chlorine smell and can irritate eyes. Conversely, if the salt level drifts low, the cell's output drops, and you'll see a rise in combined chlorine that can cloud the water. In both scenarios, you still need to test the water regularly, at least once a week, to make sure the balance stays correct. So while the system reduces the number of manual chlorine additions, it doesn't eliminate water testing altogether. Another practical consideration is the cell's lifespan. Jandy offers a 1-year warranty, which is fairly standard for this type of equipment, but the actual life expectancy of the titanium-coated plates inside the cell is usually 3 to 5 years under normal residential use. The plates can become coated with calcium deposits if your water is hard, and you'll need to clean them periodically with a mild acid solution. The cleaning process is straightforward. Remove the cell, soak it, rinse, and reinstall, but it does add a maintenance step that some pool owners forget. If you skip the cleaning, the chlorine output will gradually decline, and you might think the system is failing when it's really just a buildup issue. Who should buy the Jandy PureLink cell? If you already have a Jandy Aqua Pure saltwater system or are planning a full-scale salt conversion for a pool in the 30 to 40,000 gallon range, this kit is a logical next step. It integrates seamlessly with Jandy's automation platform, which means you can monitor chlorine output from your phone and get alerts if the cell needs cleaning or if the salt level is out of range. Homeowners who value consistent water chemistry, want to reduce the smell and eye irritation that can come with traditional chlorine, and are comfortable doing a 1-hour installation or hiring a local plumber will find real value here. On the other hand, if your pool is smaller, say an above-ground model or a plunge pool under 15,000 gallons, the PureLink cell is overkill. The system's minimum recommended salt level and chlorine output are calibrated for larger volumes, so you might end up with higher than necessary chlorine concentrations, leading to the same strong smell issue mentioned earlier. Similarly, if you're on a tight budget and don't already own Jandy equipment, the cost of the cell kit, plus a compatible pump and controller, can quickly exceed the price of a conventional chlorine feeder, especially when you factor in the ongoing expense of salt and occasional cell cleaning supplies. Let's walk through a concrete,